Testing, testing, testing. There's me on me. Hello. Hello, my name is Mark. I've never done this before. I've never had a YouTube channel where I've spoken to the abyss, or hopefully not the abyss. Hi, my name is Mark H. Rappaport. I'm a filmmaker, writer, director, producer, but historically not in that order. We'll get there. I made a movie. I made a feature film. I want to take you on a journey. I want to go on the journey together, a journey to show how I got here, how I ended up becoming a filmmaker, and sort of maybe unpack the myth of the creative process and of this idea that making a movie is something that people hand to you or is something that a studio lets you do. It's not. It's something that you do because probably because you have to do it to live, and not monetarily. I mean, because then you're in the wrong business. I mean, live emotionally with yourself. That's why I know I got into filmmaking. It's not something that you choose so much as it chooses you. We'll say that about the creative fields in general. Grew up in New York in like a Jewish community, like a pretty religious Orthodox Jewish community. Like people, they wanted us to be like, if not a rabbi, like they wanted us to become like a doctor or lawyer or like a banker. We lived in this place on 85th Street in Lex. I distinctly remember that the apartment had these bay windows, were kind of like geometric, and you could look down like into the street, and also like you can like poke your head out like like a fishbowl and kind of like look right and left at like your neighbors or just whatever you can see. I would sit in those windows a lot and look, just watch people and cars go by. And what better place to have a 10-story fishbowl view of everything around you than New York City, where you can literally witness anything at any given time. When I was a kid, I wrote this crazy little short story. My mom kept it. I remember I had written it, but I have not looked at this in at least 20 years. How was my first story? Was it any good? Can we glean anything from the content? So again, it's called The Ugly Queen. Author and illustrator, by the way. I ran out of space there. I had to just do the initial of my last name. Without further ado. Once upon a time, there was a very, very ugly queen and a king who lived in a castle. There's the castle, and I emphasize very, very. I write the word twice. It's, that's important. I'm trying to emphasize that. Again, I literally haven't read this since. I vaguely remember what happens, but yeah. The king wanted to buy makeup to make the queen not be ugly, but everyone in town was gone, plus the person who sells makeup. And here's the king with his thought bubble. I should buy the queen makeup. And then we see, he's next to his queen, surrounded by flies, and what looks like brick for feet, which is awful illustrating by me. Finally, the person who sells makeup came back, so the king went to buy some makeup. And there's the king walking to the makeup store. I guess in my 7th grade brain, stores just had arrows pointing towards them to indicate that they come on in, and the queen's even seemingly getting uglier by the page. There, she's green now, infected by some kind of mold, perhaps. The king put the makeup on the queen, and it made the queen look like a fat potato. But the word "fat" is erased. My guess is my teacher either made me do that, or my mom. Maybe that would have been offensive to the fat kids in my class. I don't know. But as you can see, the makeup was not really helping. The queen did look like a fat potato. Then they tried to mix it with water, but it made the queen look like her face was melting. And there's the queen's face melting. Actually, kind of like that illustration. I think that one's not bad. There's some emotion behind that one. So, the ugly queen had plastic surgery, and they lived happily ever after. And there they are, living happily ever after in their castle that looks like a piece of poop. And that's the entire story, people. So a lot to unpack here. I don't think I was made to see a student counselor or anything at that point. I think they found it funny. I think I probably should have been forced to see some type of therapist out of school, but that's okay because I'm fine. I later saw a therapist and I am fine now. But I'm fine today. I'm usually fine. So let's unpack this. So I think that the poop house is I think that's just bizarre. I don't have I don't have an explanation for that. The most interesting thing about this story is that it's terrible, right? It's just a bad story. But that's what do you expect when you're 7? I don't think I was expecting to be Mozart at 7. But the thing that's really fun about this story is in a way, this is still how I write. So I'm actually really happy that as a 7-year-old I was able to get this across the line of the censors, be it my mother or the teachers, because it might seem like a crazy story, but looking at it now, I'm very proud of it, because it's something that really reflected my mindset at the time, and probably a great example of writing what you know, because my father was a plastic surgeon, but my mother was not ugly. My mother was actually she was a beauty queen. She was very pretty. But my father was a plastic surgeon, and I think I clearly took that element of my childhood to heart here. Growing up, I would see my dad complain a lot about people whose faces and bodies had imperfections. It's kind of a sickening thing, really, but it's funny. Yeah, in this case, my dad would be at the dinner table, we'd be watching CNN or Fox News, and he'd say, like, you see that news anchor's chin? Like, what do you notice? I don't know. He's like, I'm telling you, they got an implant and a blepharoplasty under their eyes, and they're on their second facelift or whatever. He could always do that, and it's like that's like probably the most depressing superpower. When I was 7, at that point, I definitely didn't already want to be a writer or definitely not a filmmaker. I think in 3rd grade I said I wanted to be a baseball player or an astronaut. I think that was like my official choice for the whiteboard. My first foray into the arts was doing stand-up comedy at the age of 18. I took a class. It was a stand-up comedy class. It was with a guy who called himself the American Institute of Comedy. Quite a name to bestow upon yourself. I really, really enjoyed it. I actually, my first ever time that I was on stage, I got like laughs, and I felt really good.
I used to think I was just another skinny 18-year-old kid fresh out of high school who happened to find $50 worth of bar mitzvah money in a pencil case in my top drawer at 3 in the morning. So, Mrs. Ginsburg, my 5th grade teacher, thought I would never amount to anything. You were talking to a boy. No. A man. Who's now, according to Mr. Charles R. Schwab, a high-yield priority investor.
Obviously, like, it was nice to get laughs, but also it was not maybe fully preparing me for what stand-up would be after that, which was mostly getting up on stage to no laughs and bombing a large percentage of the time.
It must suck when someone with a famous last name spends money to sign up for Ancestry.com, but then they figure out that their ancestors were also just normal people who had a famous last name.
I think that a combination of my inability to deal with bombing and also just struggling to, really find a scene that I felt a part of led me to ultimately abandoning stand-up comedy and abandoning that aspiration.
Hey, fuckers. Buckle up. All right.
So I veered a little bit into improv. I took classes at the UCB Theater, and that was actually a lot more fun. Later, I think I would use those improv skills, for film, because you have to be willing to think on your toes and always be open to new ideas and new challenges. That said, film is also a very stand-up-esque endeavor because you have a voice, you have a message, and you have something you're gonna really push to the audience. So I think the combination of those two things really, I think at the time I didn't realize it, but now I think that actually really helped prepare me to be a filmmaker and writer of screenplays.
My Johnson & Johnson shampoo bottle just thinks it can command me not to cry.
I found that film was just a more controllable thing. I guess I'm a little bit of an OCD, like control freak. Just someone who likes to be in control of his situation, of his thoughts and actions. Film, unlike performing live, you can edit it, you can get it right. You can get exactly what you want in the end. Your end product is 100% your intention at that point. Whereas, improv stand-up, again, things can happen that you're editing on the fly, but once you've said it, you've said it. Once you've made a decision, you've made the decision. There's no going back. Whereas in film, if a scene's not working, if a line's not working, you just cut it. Simple as that. Before comedy turned into film, I did do some sketch comedy, which is a combination of comedy and film. We filmed some sketches with the director of the first couple movies I produced, Daniel, my roommate at NYU. They were pretty silly.
Simon says, "No one can get out."
Simon says, "To want to go." Simon says, "Stop crying before I skin your fucking face."
I think that was a way for our whole group of budding comedians to get into film. Me and Mikey had a sketch duo. We called ourselves Earbuds Comedy. Very stupid. Shot a bunch of very dumb sketches that I'm told by people who saw them they liked them, but to me it's just like the early work. Some of them are funny.
You get a cup, you put some water in it. Baby, you got a milk going.
I went to college, I went to Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, not traditionally known as a school for filmmakers or even remotely creative people.
Well, Brennan, those are very prestigious schools.
I smoked pot with Johnny Hopkins.
It's known as a school for doctors. Everyone who hears that I went to Johns Hopkins say, "Oh, are you going to be a doctor? Are you a doctor? Are you going to build rockets?" Anyway, it was just not the kind of school that writers went to. I had a meeting once with my advisor who advised me to transfer. I basically said, I wanted to write for late night comedy or The Simpsons or do something like that. And he basically was just like, "Why are you here? Go to New York. Transfer to NYU to make movies with your friends." And so I did. Junior year of NYU, transferred in. My friends and I made a movie. We made a movie called Uncaged. I co-wrote the script with my roommate, Daniel Robbins. We lived in the West Village by NYU. And so not only was it my first producing experience, it was my first writing experience, which was pretty cool. So werewolf movie, campy B-movie type thing, but we made it, and it was a movie, and it was 90 minutes long, and we could sell it and try to play it at festivals. It didn't really get into any festivals, but as a genre film in the mid-2010s, it had an inherent value to DVD distributors, and RLJ Entertainment picked it up, put it in Walmarts nationwide. It was very cool to say that your movie was on the shelf in Walmart, and Netflix bought it for streaming from that company, and Uncaged, this little werewolf movie, was on Netflix for a couple of years. Just to get your work made and seen, even if, again, it wasn't great. At the time, it was the best thing we could make, to see that, my words can be filmed, and what does that look like? What does that feel like? All it is to say that was the first experience that led me to realizing I had to be the one directing to really feel like I was saying what I was trying to say, but I was not ready to direct at that point anyway. So I was learning just from watching Daniel, who was also learning in his own guerrilla fashion. Neither of us went to the film school in a way. We went to Gallatin, where you pick your own major. And so I was learning from a self-taught filmmaker who was 21. So we were, our whole group, me, Daniel, Mikey, Zach Wiener, we were all just fresh-faced, wannabe filmmakers and storytellers at that time, learning from each other. Ultimately, that's what we had there, was this creative alliance and brain trust, and it was really fun. We made Uncaged, and we also made a movie called Pledge, another horror movie that was way better than Uncaged. That one I produced. I didn't co-write that one, but I felt like I had a creative producer hat on the whole time. So it was a similar experience to Uncaged. That one Zach Wiener wrote with Daniel. Mikey Gelfand produced both of those movies with us. So again, it was like the same group basically saying like, let's go again, round two, let's make a small little movie. Daniel directed Pledge, learned a ton. I think coming out of Pledge was when I started to first have the inkling of like, I think I can direct, I think I can do this. I knew I wanted to do it, but I was like, I think I can maybe, but I was still, I didn't know what I would write or direct. Like I didn't have that story that just had to be told. I produced another film after those two called The Scary of 61st. That was directed by the internet famous Dasha Nekrasova, internet famous and later mainstream famous on Succession, Dasha Nekrasova. And that was another eye-opening chapter in my life because it showed me what it was like to produce a film where the director felt the thing so hard. The Epstein angle of that film was something Dasha really cared about. After watching Daniel do Pledge and Dasha direct Scary, I was like, I knew I was ready. I had to do it at that point. I met Kimball Farley in Los Angeles the summer before COVID. There was an immediate spark there. I knew that this guy understood what I was trying to do, and he was trying to do the same thing as an actor. Kimball had emailed our production company website cold, and he was actually reaching out to Daniel Robbins, the director of Uncaged and Pledge, not me, because he was an actor and he was looking to meet directors and get some work and find a creative bond. And Daniel was busy at the time. I think he was slightly scared by the cold message. It did seem a little school shootery, but I actually loved the message, and I thought, wow, look at the sort of gall of this kid. I think he was like 22 at the time. I was probably 27, 26. And here he is cold reaching out, saying he's a big fan of Pledge, saying he'd love to meet up and, wants to be involved in any way he can in our next movie, even carrying water bottles. And I was like, well, I don't know what he'll do, but no one's ever begged me to work with me. And so I emailed back and I said, hey, Daniel, Daniel's busy, but I'll meet you. I'd love to meet you. I'm coming to LA. It was my first trip to LA when I was trying to, start that writing, directing career, try to meet with people who I could pitch my ideas to and see if I can get something made. And I sat down with the young Kimball Farley, and I immediately knew that I was going to work with this person. If you could think of a cowboy or a rancher, but for film, like a filmmaking trailblazer, just running on steam, this guy, just ready to fucking go. Like the energy in his pinky could start a war in a good way, like an emotional war. Like he's just full of that energy where it's like you don't know if 1 second he's going to give you a hug or try to kill you. And those are always my favorite actors, people who can exist in that sphere of uncertainty because they're unpredictable. And nobody likes a predictable movie. I mean, people are fed that shit every day, but nobody really likes it. And I was all in. We were both all in. And that was the beginning of our bond. That was the beginning of what would be HIPPO. Yeah, I really couldn't have met Kimball at a better time in my life. I really, really needed to meet that creative collaborator, that actor who saw me as a director. Because if enough people think of you in some way, and well, then you're that. We first shot a film called Andronicus, a short film. My brother John helped me write this story and craft a scenario that was just so twisted and thrilling and odd. It's funny, the irony of all of this was like I was so ready to be a director. I was like so ready. It was coming out of my skin. And then COVID hit. And I was already planning the short. We were going to do it in April or May, and it was like nothing's going to stop us. Like, we're going to do this film, like without their permission style. We're going to do Andronicus. It's going to be awesome. Then we're going to turn that into a feature. And then like mid-March, it's like the entire world locks down, and it's like a sick joke. And I was like zooming Kimball and like, we're still gonna make it, like don't worry. Like we were just constantly checking like the travel bans and everything, seeing when people are back to work. And it was just like at some point I was like, yeah, this is gonna keep going for a while. But still, ultimately we shot it. We found our window in July 2020 and we shot it. We got Eliza Roberts and Eric Roberts in from LA. They had to like enter an airport in New Jersey in order to get to New York, because New York had a rule like you couldn't come in there or something. And it was just a lot of crazy shit, but we did it. We did it safe. No one got COVID. And we all shot this crazy short film for 4 days. And that was just the time of my life, making Andronicus. That solidified every thought I had in my mind that I wanted to be a director. I could not have been more right. It made me realize, how had I not known about this career earlier? It made me realize, like, baseball. Why was I caring about baseball as a kid? I should have been playing with my camera more. It was a complete eye-opening, life-affirming experience shooting Andronicus. It was like years of therapy just in 4 days. I don't think a lifetime of therapy would have done what making that film did for me in 4 days. And the catharsis of getting out those feelings and those emotions about a divorced family, a divorced mother, husband and wife. Yeah, it was invaluable personally, and also I think created a pretty fun film. So we needed something else, and COVID was still COVID, and it was hard to get things made. And even our short film had a virtual premiere at Fantasia, amazing festival, but it sucked that we couldn't go and meet people and be there. Starting a filmmaking career as a director during COVID is it's like a handicap. Everyone doing anything right now, it sucks. But so we all we sort of laughed at that and just took it in stride. And to me, it also shows if you can make a movie during a global pandemic, you can make a movie whenever. Like it was a good lesson. It was like playing filmmaking on hard mode. So it's like, if this is how we have to do it, this is how we have to do it, and we're gonna figure it out and then come out stronger for it. And we ran it back for HIPPO. HIPPO was actually not even intended to be the next feature. We wrote one about religion, about a cult that reflected Kimball and my separate but equally frustrating childhoods in the face of pretty dogmatic religious ideals from our community. That was supposed to be the second feature, or the first feature, called Cornucopia, but we wrote that and realized it was a little bit too big. At the end of the day, we wanted to make something. We weren't writing something to shop it around Hollywood. No, that was not the intention. So when it turned out that Cornucopia was just we were looking at about at least $1 million budget, we decided to write something in our grasp, and that's when we came up with HIPPO. HIPPO was also personal. We wanted to write something about the frustration of growing up and not knowing about sex, and maybe not learning about sex at the right time, and also the dangers of being a teenager left unchecked, or worse, enabled. So we conceived of HIPPO. We thought, well, where do we shoot this thing? And I had family on the East Coast, and then I realized my grandma's house was just this treasure trove of weirdness. And so you just combine these elements. It's the Mark Duplass School of Filmmaking. It's the don't wait for the cavalry, use your favors, use your resources. Love that stuff. Always been doing that stuff. And HIPPO was going to mark the 4th feature film that I did with that strategy. Uncaged didn't have any real budget, $100,000 pledge, not much more. The Scare of 61st Street, also less than $200,000. HIPPO, we were going to do it again. We were going to do the same thing. And so it was exciting for me to finally do it as a producer on my own film. And my mom just jumped in to help raise the finances. And by raise the finances, I mean she literally took out a COVID loan to make this movie happen. I literally could not be here without my mom because she gave birth to me, but also could not have been in this career position without my mom had she not funded not only Andronicus, by the way, but also HIPPO, the feature. I just think like when parents do that, it's the ultimate show of like love. And my whole goal in life is to just give it back and pay it forward back to my mom. Wasn't just my mom, of course. Takes a village. One of my best friends and part of the sketch comedy group, Mikey Gelfand, he also gave a nice sum of money that actually kept us going early on when we didn't have our loan approved yet. And I was literally just using his investment to pay for paint and wallpaper and costumes and just everything we needed leading up to actually starting to, pay a crew of 15, 20 people. So if it wasn't for you, Mikey, HIPPO also would not have happened. Also, my Aunt Tasha and Uncle Kevin, they came in post-production when we were out of funds, and a couple other friends, my brothers, Ori Goldring and Michael Beer, good guys. They came in as associate producers, so thank you guys as well. A film is, it's like you're investing in a dream, really. You're investing in a vision, and so if people are going to invest in my film, like, it means they believe in my dream, and that's really cool and awesome of them. And my goal is to put as many of my dreams onto celluloid and or digital sensor that people believe in me easier, because hopefully they see my dreams are entertaining, unique, and original, and worth making. Shooting HIPPO, much like Andronicus, was supremely cathartic. It was just this incredible summer camp-esque experience. 3 weeks in State College, Pennsylvania. Truly the most talented crew and cast. And another interesting and important factor of HIPPO is the Roughhouse Pictures of it all. Roughhouse Pictures, the company started by David Gordon Green, Danny McBride, and Jody Hill, came onto our film as executive producers in the post-production period. And that was one of the coolest things, because you get these childhood idols of yours come on to a film you made and basically give it their stamp of approval. I'm not saying I feel completely fulfilled as an artist. I have a lot more to prove, but I would say that, as a starting point making feature films, I think that gave me so much confidence. The fact that they came on indicated to me like, oh, we got something funny, because I don't think they come on to movies that aren't at least a little humorous. So I like that as an ex stand-up. It really meant that someone other than me and our media team loved the film. It just boosted our confidence, and we would eventually get into the Fantasia International Film Festival as our premiere. Mitch Davis over there runs, I think, the most innovative genre film festival in the world in terms of bringing you things that you would not expect and from filmmakers that you have never heard of. So huge shout out to Mitch and Fantasia for giving HIPPO that launching platform. So yeah, what's the recipe to HIPPO? Have a dream, write a script, assemble a dream team. That's how we got from the Ugly Queen to HIPPO. Wasn't a straight path, wasn't always the easiest line, but that's where we are. I'm going to be making films till I flip and die, and I think that this was a fun exercise in retracing how I got to that career ambition, and also hopefully you took something away or learned something for yourself as maybe an aspiring artist or filmmaker yourself. And yeah, that's my goal here with this YouTube channel. Stay creative for myself and also to inspire those to stay creative. Thank you everybody for listening, watching this YouTube video. I am new to this, so I appreciate you bearing with me if you made it till the end. You might be wondering, is HIPPO available? HIPPO is available. HIPPO is available currently on Blu-ray through Vinegar Syndrome. There's still over 500 copies remaining, so grab yours while it's still there. It's also going to be available shortly on VHS through a company called Lunchmeat VHS. I'll link both of those forms of physical media down in the description area. The film will soon be available on TVOD for purchase or rent. I'm also trying to get it on streaming. I plan to make another video about how we released HIPPO. I didn't really get into that here, but we actually self-released it. So that was a whole other journey that I'm excited to share here. And you can watch the trailer for HIPPO. I'll link that below as well. This video is over 30 minutes long. Does that mean I'm gonna get like kicked off YouTube or something? I don't know, but I'm sorry that there were no ghosts or conspiracy theories in this video. Hopefully you still enjoyed it. Until next time, I'm Mark, and never stop being you.